All right, joining me now to rip through some early best bets for week 6 of the college football schedule. Week 6, we're moving right along into recap. A great weekend that lived up to the hype is our guy, Brad Powers. Brad, how you doing today?
It did live up to the hype. Usually it doesn't, but we had a bunch of big games, and almost all those big games lived up to it. So, great weekend of college football. Wish it was a better week for the best bets, 1 and 3.
Okay, so I got a bunch of questions for you in regards to what we saw on Saturday night, the two big games there. But outside of those two games, what were your biggest takeaways of the weekend?
Yeah, I'll start with one of the big afternoon games, LSU at Ole Miss, and unfortunately, I'm gonna take the negative side of things and talk about LSU. I think they're cooked. I mean, this is a team that had playoff expectations. It's year 4 under Brian Kelly. The previous 3 coaches all won national championships by year 4 at LSU. But I certainly don't see it. I don't even forget the national championship. I don't even see this team making the playoffs. They can't run the ball. The offensive line's banged up. The quarterback Nussmeier's struggling, even though it's his 5th year. 9-3 at best for SC. Another team that's cooked. Noon window was a big ranked on ranked matchup. SC against Illinois. Why am I saying SC's cooked? Well, Illinois gave them the game. The Fighting Illini fumbled not once but twice at the goal line. Usually that means disaster. Illinois still beats SC with that. I mean, you look at SC's schedule. They've got Michigan, Nebraska, Notre Dame coming up. Play at Oregon. I mean, this is an 8-4 team at best. And keep in mind, Lincoln Riley started 11-1. He's 19-14 now. His last 33 games, just not good enough at SC. And then finally, I'll take the positive side. Team that lost on Saturday in an afternoon game, but they impressed me. Washington. I know the final. You think, 24-6. Well, what are you talking about? But they played Ohio State toe to toe for a majority of that game. And we're inside the red zone. They had a first and goal inside the 6, not once but twice, and had to settle for field goals. If those are touchdowns, then we'd be talking about Washington differently. But this is a team to keep an eye on. Maybe if things break their way, could flirt with the playoffs this year.
Ooh. Okay, so a really cool whiteout once again by Penn State there on Saturday night, but once again they come up short in a big game. We all saw the graphics making the round there on Saturday night. Under James Franklin, 4-21 versus top 10 teams, including 1-11 at home. This is a story we see every season. Given his inability to win these big games, is there a chance that Penn State could move off this guy if they don't make a deep run in the playoff this year?
No, I don't think there's any chance. Unless they totally, I mean, they lose 4 or 5 games, which isn't happening because the one thing James Franklin does is he beats the teams he's supposed to. And they're going to be a favorite in every game but one down the stretch, that being at Ohio State. And it comes down to dollars and cents why you can't move off him. He's only into year 4 of a 10-year, $85 million contract that he signed in November of 2021. Not sure they can fire a guy who consistently wins 10 games a year. I don't like him. He's not winning a national championship, but I don't know. Who do you got lined up? I always say, okay, fire him. Who do you have lined up? If you got somebody lined up that's better than
Fair.
James Franklin, then do it. But I mean, look, I don't like the guy, but there's not. It's not like there's 20 coaches better than James Franklin out there that's going to win a national championship at Penn State.
Okay, Brad, coming into the season, you were all in on Alabama. After their week 1 loss, you were all out on Alabama. Now they're coming off that big win at Georgia. Since that week 1 loss, they've covered in all 3 of their games. You take a look at the national championship odds in the top 4 now. Are you allowing the Crimson Tide to come back into your heart now, Brad, after that big win?
I'm not going to be wishy-washy here, back and forth. It was a great win. They ended Georgia's 33-game winning streak, took it to them early in the game. Although, a goose egg in the second half usually would spell disaster. And Georgia came up short a couple times in scoring position. Alabama's going to be favored in all of their remaining games. But with that being said, I still only have them projected at like 9.3 wins. 7 of their 8 remaining games, they're going to be less than a 2-touchdown favorite. I'm not sure even the market's quite buying Alabama yet. Look no further than this week. They're playing Vanderbilt at home. They're only about a 10.5 point favorite. And considering Kalen DeBoer has already lost 4 times as a big favorite already in his Alabama tenure, I'm not sure that they run the table. So no, I'm on the hold position right now on the Crimson Tide.
Okay, let's check in on the ever evolving Heisman odds board. We have Dante Moore now at the top of the odds board. Pretty good case for him to win the thing. Oregon's going to have a chance to go undefeated during the regular season. Pretty good statistically. 14 touchdowns to 1 interception. What would be the argument against Moore winning the award?
It's not a strong argument because I do think I'm going to put it on record. I think he wins it. But with that being said, Dan Lanning, as head coach, had an opportunity to really stat pad the former Oregon quarterback for a couple years, Bo Nix. They just didn't do it. They were more focused on team wins than individual awards. There's no Ohio State or Michigan on the schedule, and that's great for the team, but maybe not a lot of high profile matchups. I don't know if Indiana, Iowa, SC Washington games against those teams move the needle, but I right now, I mean, he'd be my pick to win the Heisman.
Yeah, I'm watching him on Saturday night, and I'm thinking maybe a future Miami Dolphin.
Yeah.
6'3", moves well in the pocket. I would like to see it. Okay, let's take a look at the national championship odds board. Not a whole lot of movement there at the top. At least Ohio State remains on top after their win at 24-6 over Washington. Who do you think in all of college football would be the stiffest test for them?
That's Oregon, the team in their conference. They don't play Oregon in the regular season, but likely going to play Oregon now in the Big Ten championship game. I actually have Oregon #1 in my power ratings. So not only a stiff test for the Buckeyes, I would favor Oregon in that matchup slightly. So I'm
Ooh.
calling it right now. It's the end of September. I needed last weekend slate of games to officially put my hand on the table and pound my fist and say, I'm going to make a national championship pick after getting 4 or 5 games of data. Oregon's going to win the national championship.
All right, let's go. I'd like to see it. Some new blood in there. Okay, best bet time 1-3 last week, so we will look to bounce back here in week 6. A couple of spreads here, 3 spreads. Let's start with Cincinnati. They're favored by 1.5 taking on Iowa State. What do you think here?
Yeah, let's start with the line. Cincinnati's favored by 1.5. I think the line should be at least 3. I think we have the better team. They're at home in this game. Statistically, yards per play margin, Cincinnati's better than Iowa State, despite playing a similar strength of schedule. I think Cincinnati easily could have beaten Nebraska in the opener. Iowa State took a ton of money against them last week, as much as any anti-team money in the market of any game last week. Now Iowa State comfortably won over Arizona, but I'm guessing that money's going to show again here on a Cincinnati team that had one of their most impressive wins in the last few seasons, winning at Kansas. So Cincinnati for me, let's lay the 1.5.
Okay, next up, Louisville favored by 6.5 taking on Virginia. You thinking favorite or are you thinking dog here?
Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to lay the 6.5. First off, made it 7. Doesn't sound like a big edge, but around a key number it is. And mainly not necessarily a play on Louisville, a play against Virginia. A talking point I didn't get to was Virginia had one of the biggest wins of last weekend. And for Virginia, maybe one of the biggest wins they've had in like 2 decades there at that school. You saw them storm the field. I don't like their head coach that much. I don't think they're a really mature bunch. I don't know if they're going to handle success well. They go on the road after their biggest win. Louisville takes care of business. Let's lay 6.5.
Okay, let's wrap things up with California, taking on Duke. Spread right at that key number of 3, favoring Duke. What do you make of this matchup?
Yeah, let's take the home dog, Cal +3. It's a Duke team playing already their 6th straight game of the season. And I like to look at competitive point spreads. This will be their 5th straight game with a point spread of 4 or less. So I'm wondering how much Duke has left in the tank, and especially traveling across the country. Playing late at night, body clock late in that game. You saw Cal already at home take advantage of Minnesota in that particular spot. And also Duke, they beat Syracuse. Well, Syracuse week before killed Clemson. So great for Duke, right? Well, Syracuse is playing with their backup quarterback who looks like a significant downgrade. So I didn't upgrade Duke as much as the rest of the market did. Let's take Cal +3.
Okay, Brett, in and out just like that. Super efficient today. Great spot today. Of course, we're going to catch up with you again on Thursday. We'll take a look at all the biggest games of the week, probably add a best bet or 2. Best of luck with all your handicapping this week, and we'll talk to you again on Thursday.
Thanks for having me.